Hello and welcome to PA Academy. So in this video we are going to be covering angle of elevation and depression. So under angle of elevation and depression we are going to be looking at the difference between angle of elevation and angle of depression, and we are going to be solving different questions under the topic. So this video is going to be divided into parts, and in this part one what we are going to be looking at is understanding what we mean by angle of elevation and angle of depression. So if you are new to PA Academy, kindly click on the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel. Now here on the board we have a table showing us angle of elevation and angle of depression. Now angle of elevation says this is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer on the same horizontal ground level observe an object at the top of a vertical height. Now let's put this into drawing. So this is the ground level. This is the ground level, and for the definition says this is an angle to the horizontal. This is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer on the same horizontal ground level. So now let's put our observer here. Now this is our observer on the same horizontal ground level. It says horizontal observe an object at the top of a vertical height. So now let's bring our vertical height. Let's take our vertical height to be a pole. A pole, let's use it as a vertical height. And it said I was observe an object at the top of a vertical height. So at this top, let's say, okay, let's assume the object at the top is a box. So now let's look at definition again. It said this is an angle to the horizontal formed. An angle to the horizontal when an observer on the same horizontal ground level. Now this is the observer on the same horizontal ground level. Observe an object at the top of a vertical height. So now if this observer wants to look up, that is why it's the angle of elevation, look up from this ground level to view this object at the top of this pole. Now this angle is what we call the angle of elevation. So this angle here is what we call the angle of elevation. It says this is the angle to the horizontal. You can see it forms the angle to the horizontal. Pay attention to those keywords. It says this is an angle to the horizontal, because sometimes some people do make the mistake of drawing a straight line here and then you take this as the angle of elevation. No, this is not the angle of elevation. The angle is not formed to the vertical line, but rather it is formed to the horizontal line. So pay attention to that when you are dealing with angle of elevation. It is formed to the horizontal, not the other way around. So you say this is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer, this is our observer. So this here is our observer on the same horizontal ground level, and this is our ground level. Observe an object at the top of a vertical height. So this is our vertical height. And then this is our object. So this is what we mean when we talk about angle of elevation. So with this diagram, I believe you should be able to understand what we mean by angle of elevation. Again, it says this is an angle to the horizontal. This angle to the horizontal formed when an observer on the same, now this is our observer on the same ground level, observe an object at the top. This is our object at the top of a vertical height. So the angle it formed is what we call the angle of elevation. Now let's look at the angle of depression. It says this is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer from the top of a vertical height observe an object at the ground level. So let's represent this also in diagram. So first, let's draw our ground level. So let's pick it from. You say this is an angle formed to the horizontal. Okay, this is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer from the top of a vertical height. So first, let's draw our vertical height. So let's draw a vertical height. Let's draw a pole to represent our vertical height. So we've drawn a vertical height, and it told us that this is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer from the top. Now this time around, in angle of depression, the observer is at the top of the vertical height, unlike angle of elevation, whereby the observer is on the same ground level, horizontal ground level. But now in angle of depression, the observer is at the top of the vertical height. So let's draw our observer. So let's take this to be our observer. So our observer, so this is an angle to the horizontal formed when an observer from the top of a vertical height. So this is the observer. Observe an object at the ground level. So let's draw our objects. So let's say the observer observe a box. So this box now, this, don't mind my drawing. Now this is the box, and the observer observe from this top, observe a box at the ground level. So now let's draw the site. Now if the observer is looking at it, the observer will be facing down. That's it. The angle of observer will be facing down to look at this object. So the angle this forms to the horizontal. So this angle, this line straight down. Then let's have draw our horizontal. It's not straight enough. So now this angle here is what we call the angle of depression. Why this is angle of elevation? So this diagram will give you is what explain the difference between the angle of elevation and angle of depression. So let me say it again, come again. Now in angle of depression, you see the observer is at the top of the vertical height. Observe an object on the ground level. So the angle is forms to the horizontal. The angle is forms to the horizontal. This angle, not this angle. Not this angle. This angle is to the vertical. This is to the vertical. But the one is forms to the horizontal. Don't forget, when we talk about horizontal, this is horizontal and then this is vertical. So that's by the way. So the angle is forms to the horizontal, including angle of elevation. The angle is forms to the horizontal, not vertical. So that is the angle that we are talking about. Either you are talking of that of a depression or elevation. The angle is always formed to the horizontal line, not to the vertical. So this is the difference between angle of elevation and depression. So in the next part of this video, we are going to be looking at different questions under angle of elevation and depression and how you can solve them. So if you are yet to subscribe to PA Academy, kindly click on the subscribe button, and then I'll see you in the next part of this video. Thank you.